The storage auction was supposed to be boring. Most of them were. A group of about 15 people stood in a dusty corridor between rows of metal storage doors. Some were professional resellers, others were collectors looking for lucky finds. I was just there out of curiosity. The facility manager opened unit after unit while the crowd peeked inside. Old furniture, boxes of clothes, broken appliances. Nothing interesting. Then we reached Unit 312. The door rattled upward, revealing a dim interior packed with boxes stacked against the walls. But in the center of the unit sat a single wooden chest, not a modern one, an old travel trunk with metal corners and faded leather straps. Something about it made the crowd quiet. The bidding started low. $200, $300, $400. For some reason, my hand went up. $500. The room turned toward me. Nobody else bid. And just like that, Unit 312 was mine. At the time, I thought I had simply bought someone else's forgotten belongings. I had no idea that hidden inside one of those boxes was something that would lead me somewhere I was never supposed to find. Inside the unit were about 20 cardboard boxes. Most contained junk, old magazines, kitchen supplies, a stack of VHS tapes. But inside the wooden chest, I found something strange. A rolled piece of parchment paper tied with a thin red string. It looked old, very old. When I unrolled it on the floor of the storage unit, I realized it was a map. But not a normal map. It wasn't labeled. No roads, no cities, just terrain lines drawn in dark ink. And one thing stood out immediately. A single red mark. A small circle drawn near the edge of the map. That was the only location marked. Nothing else. No explanation, no legend, just one place. And for some reason, when I looked at it, I felt certain about something. The map wasn't decorative. It was meant to lead someone somewhere. When I got home, I spread the map across my kitchen table. The paper felt thick and rough, like handmade parchment. At first, it looked impossible to identify the location, but after studying it for an hour, I noticed something subtle. Tiny numbers written along the edges. Coordinates. Very faint, almost invisible. I typed them into my laptop. The results surprised me. The marked location was deep in the mountains, nearly 3 hours outside the city, an area covered almost entirely by forest. No towns, no roads, just wilderness. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. Whoever owned that storage unit had kept this map for a reason, and if they had hidden it inside a locked chest, whatever was at that location was probably important. 2 days later, curiosity got the better of me. I packed a backpack with water, a flashlight, and the map. The drive out of the city took longer than expected. Highways turned into smaller roads. Small roads turned into gravel paths. Eventually, the GPS lost signal entirely, but the map's terrain lines helped. Mountains, a narrow valley, a winding river. Every landmark matched. By late afternoon, I reached the closest point my car could go. Beyond that, the forest began, and according to the map, the marked location was still 2 miles deeper inside. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Tall trees blocked most of the sunlight, turning the path dim and shadowy. I followed the map carefully, checking landmarks whenever possible. A fallen tree, a narrow stream, a rocky slope. Everything matched exactly. Whoever drew the map had known this place very well. After about an hour of walking,
The terrain opened into a small clearing. I checked the map again. The red circle was directly ahead. But when I stepped into the clearing, I didn't see treasure or ruins or anything remarkable. Just an empty patch of ground.
At first, I thought the map was wrong. Then I noticed something unusual near the center of the clearing. A patch of dirt that looked slightly different, less grass, more loose soil. I knelt down and brushed away the dirt. Underneath it was metal, a circular metal hatch embedded in the ground, like the entrance to an underground bunker. There was a handle, rusty but intact. My heart started pounding, because suddenly the purpose of the map made sense. The marked location wasn't on the surface, it was below it. The hatch opened with a loud metallic creak. A metal ladder descended into darkness. Cool air flowed upward from below. I hesitated for several seconds before climbing down. The ladder led into a small underground room. Concrete walls, dust-covered shelves, old equipment. It looked like some kind of hidden bunker, but most of the shelves were empty, except for one thing: a large steel safe bolted to the far wall. The safe was heavy, industrial grade, and surprisingly, it wasn't locked. The door opened slowly when I pulled the handle. Inside were several thick folders, each one labeled with dates. Dates from the early 1990s. Curious, I opened the first folder. Inside were photographs, pictures of the very storage facility where I had bought the unit, pictures of auctions, of buyers, of people walking away with purchased storage units. And in the corner of one photo, I saw something that made my stomach drop. A man watching the auction from a distance, holding a clipboard, observing every bidder carefully. I spent nearly an hour going through the folders. Each one documented storage auctions across the city, photos, notes, lists of names. And slowly, a pattern emerged. Someone had been studying these auctions for years, tracking which buyers purchased which storage units, tracking what they discovered afterward. The notes suggested something strange. Certain storage units seemed to appear repeatedly, units that had once belonged to the same unknown owner. And those units always contained strange items, maps, documents, coordinates, almost like a long chain of clues left behind, leading different buyers to different discoveries. And suddenly, I understood. I hadn't been the first person to follow one of these maps. I was just the latest. The last folder in the safe had no date, just a name written on the front. My name. My hands felt cold as I opened it. Inside was a photograph taken during the auction 2 weeks ago, the moment I raised my hand to bid on Unit 312. Someone had been watching long before I even opened the chest. Behind the photograph was a single sheet of paper, one sentence typed in the center. "Congratulations, you found the first location." Below it was something else, another map, this one marked with 3 red circles. And suddenly, I realized something terrifying. The map I had found at the storage unit wasn't the destination. It was only the beginning.